All right, we're going to get started here. Thank you all for coming. My name is Colin Moran. I work with LTN on the product team. I'm joined here with gentleman Rob from the Pro Volleyball Federation. I'm going to introduce myself a little bit about LTN. We're going to take a deep dive into the partnership we have with the Pro Volleyball Federation. So at LTN, we're first and foremost a technology company. We provide technology and services for the broadcast ecosystem. We acquire content via our global network. We also have TV trucks and a centralized production facility in a suburb of Kansas City, Liberty, Missouri. We also have the capabilities to enrich content within our global network, have that be graphics overlays or SCUDdy insertion or localized languages. We also have a playout capability through our network, and that's a SaaS-based tool that folks can use standalone, or is that something we can provide as a managed service? And that kind of wraps up the ecosystem also with distribution. So be able to acquire the content all the way through distributing the content. So I'm going to hand it over to Rob. We're going to go through a little slide. He's going to introduce himself and the league.
Thank you, Colin. I'm Rob Carolla, Vice President from Pro Volleyball Federation. For those of you who don't know what Pro Volleyball Federation is, the PVF is in its second year. We are a women's professional volleyball league here in the United States, the first premier league here in the States to give these amazing athletes that we have the opportunity to play here in their home country. Previously, a lot of these athletes would have to go play in Europe and Asia, and this is an opportunity for them to stay home, play in front of their family and friends, and showcase their sport in front of a lot of fans here in the U.S. As you can see from the slide up here, we've had some great numbers here in our first couple of years. Last year, we drew about 400,000 fans across our league, which last season was 7 teams. This year, we've moved it up to 8 teams, and this past weekend, we just went over 300,000 fans for the season. So we're having a great attendance at our arenas. We also get great interaction on our broadcasts. We broadcast every single one of our matches. This season, we have 115 regular season matches, 3 postseason matches, and also a all-star game exhibition that takes place in the middle of our season. For those events, we have various network partners, and you can see that we have several of them that work with us here. CBS Sports, CBS Sports Network, Fox, which is FS1 and FS2, Roku Sports Channel, and also VVTV works with us to do international distribution, because it's very important for us to get in front of the international volleyball community as well, which is very fervent in several countries.
So let's dive into, because you guys are unique in the way that you've approached your rights dealings, where instead of having an exclusive right, one platform, you've decided to say, hey, we're going to take the right, take on the production, and spiderweb your content out to many different platforms. Can you just talk through why that approach and why not the exclusive route?
Sure. Well, we thought it would be beneficial to, expose everyone to the league and the great athletes that we have by using different platforms. We don't want to just put all our eggs in one basket. We want to go forward with these various partners, because those that watch maybe CBS or Fox might not necessarily be the same people watching Roku. So we thought that was important to get the exposure, and just, we've got the passionate volleyball fan. They understand our league. Here we are in year 2, and they're totally behind us. You can see it when we're watching matches on YouTube, that the chat is very, very active. They're very excited, and, we hear from them, and we hear some great suggestions from them as well, but they're very supportive of our league. But what we wanted to show was here in the States, just the casual sports fan. We talk about converting the unconverted. We want to make sure that those sports fans can see how great a game it is for television, and how fast it is, and how great it is in person as well, because we obviously want to get our fans to come out and see the matches live.
And talk a little bit now about kind of the international, like why is it important for PVF to have the domestic, obviously the networks we're seeing on the screen, but also the VBTV?
Sure. Well, it was important for us to have that exposure internationally, because volleyball, for those of you that don't know, in certain European and Asian countries, it's really a very big sport. And so we see it in our league. We have some international players. We do limit the number of international players that we allow per team to 3, because we want to give the U.S. sports athlete the opportunity to play here in the States. But for those teams in our league that have international players, I'll give you a perfect example. Orlando has a player from Thailand that when they're on, their YouTube numbers for our matches are through the roof. We get great engagement. We get great engagement on the chat. I can't obviously read what they're saying because they do it in their native language, but it's really exciting to see that, because we want it to grow. At the end of the day, our goal as a league is to be the destination for volleyball players around the world. And if we're not thinking that way, we feel like we're being very short-sighted and, trying to expand. When you're a baseball player in Japan or any other foreign country, you want to play in Major League Baseball. And so eventually we may not be there in year 2 or year 3, but, as we grow and continue to grow, we want to make sure that we're the place people think about when they want to come and play professional women's volleyball.
That's great. Now before we got up here, we were talking over at our booth, and you were talking about kind of the technology that you provide on site without, line judges and such. Talk to us about kind of the innovation the league has approached with the sport of volleyball.
Sure. Two of our main things that we do innovation wise, as he just mentioned, we do not use line judges in our league. We partner with a company called Bolt 6. It's exclusive with Pro Volleyball Federation. And what we do is we have 22 cameras around our court. Okay. And for those of you that may have seen tennis where they have those in and out calls on things like Hawkeye technology, Bolt 6 is similar to that, but we have those decisions made in milliseconds. There's no delay on any of this. And it's a really important technology for us. And to our owners' credit, they took the importance of that, and they made that investment in our league. So we're really excited to have them on board as a partner. Another partner we use is Volley Station, which is a stats company that helps us to curate our data and our statistics from our matches. They're based out of Poland. Okay. But they stat every single one of our matches. And we have that archive of data from the very first match we ever played. And how many sports leagues out there can say that they have that information from the very first match they ever played all the way through? And we can do a lot of things with that. Some of those things haven't been done yet. We have lots of ideas about what we want to do it, but we're trying to, grow strategically and grow slowly, but we're going to have that data whenever we do want to use it.
That's awesome. All right. So we're going to dive into the 2 specific workflows that LTN partners with the Pro Volleyball Federation on. One is a full remote production where we deploy one of our fleet of TV trucks on site. We acquire all those signals. We utilize the LTN network, bring those into our centralized ecosystem in Kansas City. And we also, do everything you see on the screen, from the instant replay, video switching, announcer integration, all of the above. And then we gather that together with the specific graphics package. Each of the networks Rob's talking about has their own specific graphics package. And so we package that together, and then we distribute that to those destinations. One question on this, Rob, that I wanted to ask is, when you all were looking at different production ways that you all could do your production, why go the centralized route rather than the full on-site route?
Well, as a startup league, we're always cost conscious about what we're doing. So that was a way that we could produce every single one of our matches, without breaking the bank in the first season, to be perfectly honest. But, it also gave us a way to showcase things across the board. We did more, YouTube broadcast on our YouTube channel last year, and we've gone more linear this year. And that was just by design. But we wanted to make sure that we could cover every match. And we feel like what we've done over year 1 into year 2 is also improved some of those matches, both on a linear and a non-linear side.
That's awesome. And so the other workflow that we provide for the league here is a digital workflow where LTN isn't sending anything on site, that we're requiring that already produced signal, have that be from a video board or it's a local production that's happening, bringing that through via the LTN network, and providing, very scalable functionalities to that feed. And it started as, pretty simple. We just want the bug, and, Rob said, hey, we might want to, do a little bit more here and there. I want to talk about that in a second. But this really gave the league the opportunity to reach the consumers in the version that they need to consume the content. And I think it's great technology, and it's really cool to be able to partner. As you see kind of the growth, and obviously over the season that we've had, changes in the digital workflow specifically, kind of what has been, behind those? Is that kind of, league driven? Is it monetization driven? What is kind of the league thought process in that?
I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously we want to present the best product we possibly can. So, it could be as simple as, me calling LTN and saying, hey, we had this great suggestion from our fans that, we probably should have thought of, but it really makes sense to implement this into our broadcast, whether it's a lower third graphic or something else. We're a quick match. We have a serve clock, so we try to keep it moving, to keep those fans engaged. So we're not going to jam in a lot of stuff in a production or a broadcast. But when we do have things from a monetization standpoint, when we bring a new corporate sponsor on board, or we're able to integrate some of our team's workflow, on their local broadcasts, when they want to promote an upcoming match or something like that. And LTN's been great about helping us do that, because when you're working in sports, it's never just a by the book season. You have to adjust as the season moves forward. And, we wanted a partner that would be able to do that with us. We can't just do the same thing we're doing in January, or same thing in May that we did in January, which is the length of our season.
That's awesome. All right. So we're going to jump into, kind of what is next for, PVF, and, what do you see the near term? What do you see the future looking like in the way that you're producing content, your rights dealings in that regard?
Well, I think, it's a little bit of what I said earlier, where we're trying to take small steps, go a little bit at a time. You crawl, then you walk, and then you run. So we want to make sure we go that route and not overextend ourselves, because what we want to do, it's about quality and not necessarily quantity. We're thrilled that we're going to put all of our matches on, but we want to make sure that we can implement new things as the league grows. We're adding a team in Dallas next year, so we're going to have another team that's going to be in a great market for us. So what can we do to showcase them, and the league as a whole? That's really important for us to really give these women that are playing the platform to showcase just how great the sport is to watch, and also to help to expand it to different markets around the country.
So what is kind of the cycles of learning that you could share if there's someone out there that might be in the same place that PVF is or was? What are the cycles of learning that you can share that you've learned from a league standpoint, approaching broadcast, approaching the in-venue experience from the last year and a half?
Well, I think ultimately we're trying to get people to go to the arenas as well. So the in-venue experience is very important. And we have different levels of technology in each building. We have different levels of staff. Some entry-level folks that may be on board, they're very eager, but they just don't necessarily have the knowledge to do what we need to do. So we need to kind of coach them along. You got to preach patience. I've been doing this for about 30 years, working in sports, and, I want to see people get set up to succeed. And we think we have some great markets. So, the in-venue experience is everything we do is geared towards making it a fun experience for the fans. And it's not just the obvious stuff, not just the kiss cam or the t-shirt cannon. It's using the technology we have. We show all the Bolt 6 replays in the arena. It's not just, you have to watch it on TV. We have the stats fed into the video boards and the scoreboards and things like that. So we want to make sure that we don't want to give the fans any reason not to come. It's a very competitive area where, we want to give the people a reason to come out and not just sit home and watch it on television. So we have to make sure we're doing the in-venue experience really well.
And I heard there's one location that has mob moppers. Is that correct?
That is correct. Columbus, for after plays in volleyball, you're mopping the floor. So they got creative with it. They call them the mopsters, and they come out dressed like, you're gangsters, and they mop the floor, and it's kind of a show, around each time, but they're beloved by the fans down there. We've got another guy in Orlando who's not wearing the mob gear, but he goes out there, and fans are so into him. We actually brought him up for our All-Star game to help us out.
That's awesome. I think that concept of, a league at your level and combining the in-venue experience with the production, I think that's it's probably a constant thing that you kind of have to always keep on the forefront of your mind.
Yeah, I think that'd be 100% true. We want to make sure that they're really enjoying that in-venue experience. And, one of the nice things about our athletes too is they're so appreciative of the opportunity here in the States. And volleyball is the number one girls sport, youth sport in America. It's actually surpassed all the other sports right now. So there's a huge base of people that want to watch our league, and our athletes are very good at interacting with our fans. We do autograph sessions after matches, those types of things. And we want to build that, affinity towards what we're doing here. And we're seeing it a lot more too, just in our second year. In the first year, when we have a player draft every fall, and we had our draft, And the first year we had to, really educate the players themselves. The second year, they're calling our teams, saying, I'm interested in playing in your league. And it's really exciting because the alumni of those colleges and universities here in the U.S., they know where their players are going after they're done. So, we gain more fans that way too. If we draft a player from Penn State or the University of Oregon or anywhere in between, they're going to follow our league, which is just great because it adds to our fan base and our exposure on our media platforms.
That's awesome. So a couple more questions, and we'll dive into any Q&As that anyone has. Just kind of in a broader trend question, what do you see as kind of the trend within, being a rights owner as PVF is? What do you think of the trends happening within rights dealings within just the broadcast ecosystem space?
I think diversifying, kind of like what we did, not to toot our own horn there, but, there's no disrespect to the ESPNs of the world, and they do great work in sports, but there are so many places you can showcase your sport. My 15-year-old son doesn't care that it's not on ESPN, or some other channel or NBC or whatever channel you may not be on. He cares that, can I get it on my phone? How do I tune in? That's all he cares about. And I think that you're seeing a lot of that everywhere, especially because they want that ability to watch us anywhere.
No, I agree. That's the same thing, would be, my answer to that question is you see a lot of people that are approaching either exclusive, going to just one platform, or non-exclusive like PVF did, where they're spiderwebbing their content out, meeting consumers where they're consuming their content. I think that is obviously being a huge trend of what's happening with folks, but also I think, from an LTN perspective on the technology side, and in great partnership with PVF here, we create the modularity and the functionality for folks like the PVF to do that, where, hey, we want to add this graphic, or we want to, the teams want to start playing out, ad spots during the digital games. Okay, we can add that. I think there's those things where the flexibility has to meet the outcome for the consumer. Sorry, I'm awkward. Okay. Can't see the time up here, so you gotta move up a little bit. That's all we had specifically. I'll say a thank you to Rob and the league. Great partnership. Looking forward to doing more volleyball games. We come visit us. We're going to be over at our booth, LTN W2601. It's like right over there, that way. You'll see it. It's hanging up there. We have coffee, and we have water, and we have chocolates. So, and who doesn't want to come do that? But we'll be over there if there's any questions you'll have, but we'll take questions now. If someone has a question, our gentleman over there, I think there it is.
Hey, Rob, as a league, what are you guys looking for in the market to expand?
I think it's a few things. We're built up like a traditional sports league here in the U.S., where we have team owners, we have front office staffs, that type of thing in each market. So, we're looking for a market that's going to support the team locally. So we want a good youth volleyball base there. That's why we're so excited about Dallas, because it's just massive in the whole Dallas-Fort Worth, North Texas area. An arena that can give us the availability to play. That's such a key component. We're not naive enough to think we're going to be playing in all these 20,000 seat arenas. We'd like something a little more intimate. We had our all-star match in Indy, at the Ignites Arena, and it seats about just under 7,000. And that was phenomenal. We sold it out. Every seat was full. It was packed. The atmosphere, the energy was phenomenal. So, somewhere in that range where we could find more places like that, would be really great.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Oh, we got one over here.
You mentioned the audience or the in-venue experience, right? So just curious, have you thought about interactivity or how you could actually engage those fans, kind of a one-to-one basis while you're there?
We haven't done, to be perfectly blunt, we haven't done enough of that. We are looking to do more, but we also have to be strategic, like I said earlier, to see what our staffs on the game production side and the arenas can handle. So we're definitely looking to increase that in year 3 moving forward. Some of our teams do a pretty good job of it, and then there's other teams where you notice, hey, it would be a little better if we could do that kind of stuff. But we think that's really important. We have done some, interesting activities. We did our all-star fan voting on our website, and we gathered over 10,000 email addresses. for that, which was phenomenal because that helps us get the word out as well. But it was funny because I'm sure everyone in the audience could probably relate to this. We have a varying level of coworkers that we work with, and one of our volleyball operations folks was like, well, do we really need to do that? And I'm like banging on the table. Yes, we need to do it. And when she saw the 10,000, emails that we could reach out to about our league after the All-Star match voting was done, she understood a little bit better.
That's great. Other questions? Don't be shy. Got a little time left. No? Awesome. Well, thank you all.